At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Ross for our school board spotlight.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board and our community. It's such an honor to congratulate our future business leaders, to see who's going to hire us in the future, our job creators. We're very proud of them, looking very good, and thank you to their parents to support them. We see how important our extracurriculars are, and for them, I wish them the best in their futures, but very proud of your accomplishments today. And as Dr. Harris always reminds us, education really starts in the womb, from prenatal care. We start and provide services to our children in our community. And I want to thank Ms. Price for her leadership, her advocacy, and just being a huge social worker for the least of these of us, and making sure we meet the needs of all of our students. So again, thank you and congratulations. As always, we are a system guided by 3 critical questions. Why do we do this work? How do we accomplish our why? And then what are our outcomes? Our vision is that we love and grow our students. Our mission is that we're focused on academic, social, emotional growth and development. And then our strategic plan outcomes. We have 24 strategies that we're working on each and every day that chase 4 performance goals for that vision, where one day, every student will feel loved in our schools, and every student will have demonstrated academic growth in our schools. We are tracking the state strategic plan goal by 2030 that 75% of students will be at or above grade level in English and math, towards that goal where every student is college, career, or military ready. And so just seeing our students tonight just lets us know how we're on that track. As we look at our SC Ready projections, we know we had the fall and the winter. We're getting up for the spring administration of that. And so our goal is to work diligently with those students in the red and extend the students in the blue to maximize the potential of all learners. We do this also by tracking our graduation rate, a key part of our strategic plan, working diligently, not just with the graduation teams, but with record keeping and attendance as we deal with issues of transientness towards our goal where 9 out of 10 students will be able to graduate within 4 years of entering high school within School District 5. As we track our state assessment outcomes, we do see growth and celebrate growth, but we also take the opportunity to look at areas where we can improve. And so our teams are working diligently as we face new challenges in the district, especially students who do not speak English as their primary language in the home, but also being required to meet the expectations on the English Language Arts SC Ready. Also, we will always continue to inform our community about Act 114, which is a huge part of the Read to Succeed law regarding our 3rd grade students. And so with the portfolio being removed as a way to stave off 3rd grade repeating, we're working diligently not only in English Language Arts, but in math to ensure that our students are making progress. As a result, our goal is to support the classrooms, to keep our teachers, our quality teachers here, support them, recruit in new teachers, and do all of that in a safe and productive learning environment. The learning environment needs for the future are changing, and we're very proud of our efforts with the referendum to have an opportunity to meet the new changes, the new needs in education in a safe and productive learning environment. We also looked to our parent advisories and our student advisories to see what their expectations were for School District 5. This is in commitment to our feedback loop. And so with a united voice, our student advisory and parent advisory spoke about what their expectations were for the school and the school district. And it was very clear when they shared what their vision and their mission is to be actively involved in ensuring that every child has a solid academic foundation for their future career. You'll see a pivot from the notion where we were preparing students for college. Parents are worried about the future. The future is changing. The needs are changing, the requirements. We hear more about how this is the generation that is not expected to do better than their parents financially. So parents are asking and students are asking the question, am I ready for this unknown future? Well, our commitment in School District 5 will be yes, and by working to meet each student's needs. And as we move from this mass education system to individualized groups, we were asked about forming a task force that would look at successful schools or schools that had high poverty, and those schools that, what were they doing to get academic growth? And this is a strategy that, that we have incorporated within our work for quite some time. We do it annually. We look at schools like us, and we also look at districts like us. One district I would point the board's attention to is Anderson 1. Anderson 1 is probably a district like us in terms of poverty, but is doing really well in terms of academic achievement. And one of the strategies that they put in place, instead of the word task force, they use professional learning community. In fact, I think they were first in the state to have a model professional learning community framework in their district. And what does a professional learning community do? Well, the reality is you don't need one task force. You need multiple professional learning communities, and we have a lot of them. But it's not the perfect strategy. It's the perfect strategies. It's not the perfect lesson. It's the perfect lessons. And these have to be tailored to the individual needs, and as locally as you can do that, as close to the classroom as you can make that committee, the more effective it is. When teachers meet together in a professional learning community, they're asking 4 questions. This is where the spirit of improvement works. This is where our task force for professional learning communities operate. They're asking, first of all, what do we want our students to know and be able to do? To think about our skills of our future business leaders of America. There are very distinct skills that they were able to not only do, but to do at a very high level. In education, we call these standards or objectives, indicators. These briefly can be written as I can statements. I can execute this following task. And then assessments, how we know when they learned it. How will we respond when they do not learn it? It's probably the most critical piece of it, is that we get that information back. And then how do we extend the learning for students who are already proficient? It is districts that are able to engage in this feedback loop with their teachers and the support for those that see the fastest academic growth. And so we are excited about continuing this work. We have some plans about streamlining it to help teachers as they answer the 4 questions. But it is our goal to support teachers in these professional learning communities. And so in doing that, one of the things I wanted to do is to make sure that we understand what our teachers are going through. It's a lot of demand on a teacher. The day of just teaching one lesson that covers all students, that day is over. And so preparation for a teacher has increased. The demands on the teacher have increased dramatically. If you look at the number of students that require extra accommodations to the classroom, that is increasing. So I think, you can look at number of students, but you also have to look at workload per student. And I think that gives us a good indicator of what our teachers are going through. As a result, on July 1st, 2026, our school district will look totally different from how it looks now. We want to ease the anxiety of our teachers and staff as we go through that transition. And so wanted to outline, we're still getting questions on this, about how that process looks. So as a result, this is our current instructional structure for the school district. And on July 1st, 2026, we'll move to this format. And this format will take a lot of operational controls in place. We're moving to 13 elementary schools that'll all be K-5. For the first time in the history of School District 5, we'll have 5 middle schools, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And then we need to support our high school programs with the new CATE offerings, which we'll be learning about today. In addition, as we move programs out of schools to create space for the Rich Lex Education Center, we'll house the Academy for Success Adult Ed and the 5 program. So what does that look like to ease the burden on the teachers? Well, it looks like providing their preference for thousands of teachers and staff in our school district. Over 1,000 staff and teachers in our district. And so for that, all pre-K through 8 staff will complete a survey in May. This survey will ask about their preferences. Where do they want to be and at what grade level would they like to teach? What about their certifications? Proximity to work, where their children attend schools. All of this will go in a survey as we program the rezoning for electives, athletics, arts, special education, interventionist movements, those singletons that need to be addressed that are only in one classroom throughout the whole district or in the cluster. All of that has to be organized so that the end user experience is excellence when we make that rezoning. So if you look at our multi-year timeline, in May, all of the pre-K through 8th grade teachers and staff will complete that survey. What are we doing till then? Well, if you look at our timeline, at the end of February, the Office of Student Services and Planning will be producing their enrollment projections for the 26-27 school year. It's a very hard task. They have worked very hard crunching numbers, projecting where students will be 26-27, looking at current trends. Next month, the directors will meet, and they will start to program the rezoning. In May, the official survey will come out. June, July, and August through September, we'll finalize that data, crunch those numbers. And by December, the principals will have finalized their staffing rosters. In January of next year, all of those assignments will be issued. If you look at our timeline, the date that the teachers receive their assignments will line up with our regular transfer portal. So if someone changes their preference, my preference was this in May, come January, my preference changes. It aligns up perfectly with our transfer opportunities. We will have orientations. This is a new addition. We'll have orientations for all new staff at their new sites in March, no later than March of 2027. And, 2026, I apologize. And no later than May for all families and students. No later than May for all families and students of 2026. By then, we will dismiss and in August arrive in our new rezoned schedule. So again, we're excited about this work, about taking care of putting all of this effort into planning so that we can provide for the preferences of our faculty and staff. So at this time, I'm going to ask our CFO, Ms. Heather Tucker, to come forward with our financial report for December.
It's on. Good evening. Okay. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have for you today the December monthly financial report. First up is our revenue. You can see in December, revenue started to outpace our expenditures. We begin to see our property taxes start to come in, the property tax bills start to come in, and we do see our revenue through property taxes a little bit higher than it has been the last couple of years. At this time, we're starting to see the Richland County, their reassessments So we'll see a little bit higher property taxes from Richland County this year and Lexington County the following year. But our expenses are still pretty close to on track with where they were for the previous year, 41.7 to 42%. So we're still kind of right on track with where our expenses are, and our revenues are just slightly higher. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Do we have any questions? All right, thank you.
All right. We have an academic report, and I'm going to ask our Chief of Academics, Ms. Tina McCaskill, to come forward.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Ross, Board. I'm happy to have with me Mr. David Prigge, our Director for CTE. Between he and Dr. Ross's visions, I'm telling you, I'm excited about what's happening with CTE. I'm excited to just hear, Weston Kieschnick was just here Friday, and he was doing his instructional rounds here at the center, and just the exciting things that he had to say about the engagement of students and what the teachers here are doing. Just really, it just kind of reinvigorates you all over again. So I'm really happy to have David with me today, and I'm going to let him, turn it over to him to do a report.
Let's see if I can do this. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Dr. Ross. Thank you, Ms. McCaskill, for this opportunity to talk. I want to talk about the bond referendum projects that are coming to career and technical education. First thing I want to mention, we're doing a digital solutions and artificial intelligence lab at Dutch Fork High. We're already on track for the Siemens Engineering Lab to start in August of this year. We have 2 teachers that have been trained, and this is replacing the Project Lead the Way pre-engineering. This is a new program to the state that's been, well, this will be its 3rd year in the state. And then hopefully 26, 27, we'll put in the artificial intelligence program. The State Department has come out with the first level, and we'll get more news about that next week at our state update. The second thing I want to talk about for the bond is the construction lab, which will be constructed on this campus. It'll house heavy equipment operator, and we're going to move our building construction, electricity, and welding programs into the new facility, which means we will free up space in the current building to where we want to add additional commercial driver's license, CDL, diesel technician, and drone technology. Under drone technology, we've already started a drone club here, and they just competed this past weekend, and we have a winner there with the judges award. So they'll be going on to the next step. And I'm really excited about the Small Business Student Incubator at Irmo High. Student Small Business Incubator, we're going to run this similar to the Shark Tank, to where students will present their ideas about their businesses and how they want to become entrepreneurs and run their own companies and shops. Hopefully we're going to be able to run this incubator year-round. That way we can really get the community involved, and also we're going to work it out to where they get a CTE work-based credit, which goes toward their CCR requirement for graduation. And this slide is kind of an overview of what the incubator is going to look like. This is not set in stone yet, but this is a rendering of what we're thinking, to where we can have different opportunities for students in the community to come in and work with our students and hopefully hire our students, or our students leave high school and start their own businesses and be productive tax-paying citizens in District 5 area. Okay. Now, I do want to mention one thing that's not on the slides. In August of this year, here at the center, we will open up and implement the only heating, ventilation, and air conditioning program in the Midlands. We've had requests from industry folks, parents, and students. I'm not sure how many students we have registered or looking forward to it yet, but we're trying to compile that data right now. So is there questions?
How do you guys, because you mentioned adding the HVAC, so I'm guessing there's a need that's not met. So if you don't mind, just kind of describe like the CDL, like how did you guys decide which programs to backfill into that empty space?
That's a great question. The South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce has come out with priority occupations, and those, the CDL and the diesel tech for transportation, distribution, logistics cluster is at the very top. That's how we decide, because that shows the need not only in the Midlands but statewide.
On the artificial intelligence, are we going to be using a US-based platform for that? We're not using foreign?
We don't use anything unless it is USA.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barnhart?
To follow up on that, could you give us just a little bit more information on what exactly that program will be doing? Will they be building their own model or basing it, like using it to do other things? What's that program going to kind of look like?
Right now, the first level is an introductory of what the technology is behind AI and the equipment and how to design and the uses of it. And it also goes into the Chat GPT. That's one of the first things they'll learn.
Okay, and then another question on the HVAC. I love this idea. My husband and I own an HVAC company. We were actually asked to be on that advisory panel, but he's currently away at military training. But I'm very excited about that. What all are they going to be learning when it comes to that trade? Are they going to be able to be certified in any way, shape, or form when they finish it? Or can you give us a little bit more information about it?
The HVAC program, they're going to come out, well, that's something we're going to do on the steering committee come Wednesday. Dividing up tasks for it, and certifications is one. But the Education Oversight Committee has 7 HVAC certifications that we can do at high school. And one of them is the NATE, which current technicians out there on the job have to go through.
It's difficult. I've taken it.
And we'll be using the NCCR curriculum, which is National Center for Construction Education and Research. We'll use that curriculum, and that'll give them 3 more certifications through them.
That's going to be an incredible opportunity for them, and I know the workforce in the area is really going to appreciate having these young kids get into it, so thank you for that.
We're really excited and looking forward to it.
Thank you. Mr. Satterfield?
Yeah, I'm excited about this too. How will students from other high schools get involved with this?
With the incubator,
With like HVAC or something like that. I know this is the Irmo High School small business. Will they like going to the Cates Center? Will it be similar?
it'll be similar what we do right now with cosmetology and automotive at Irmo High
Right.
School. It's, as far as I remember, it's a school of choice, so they can be involved in that way. But we can set up the incubator similar to what we do here at the center. Like HVAC will be at the center, just on the other side of this wall. Well, on the other side of culinary. I always forget where I'm at. But we want to invite all students in the district to do this, because we don't want to leave anybody out.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Bailey?
One more. In reference to the construction lab and then the CDL program, are we going to be partnering with someone that has heavy equipment? Are we going to have to purchase certain equipment? How is that going to operate?
We'll be partnering with companies that have the equipment.
Good.
And one of our main partners for CDL will be the South Carolina Trucking Association, and we'll receive donated equipment. And I will say this, I put that program into another district, and we receive donations of the trucks, trailers, and also we'll have a partnership with Midlands Technical College and their CDL program.
Awesome, thank you.
Ms. Huddle?
Later on in the meeting, we're going to be talking about the capital projects. And I know this is funded from the bond, but I don't remember in the 4+ years I've been on the board really seeing a lot of things for the Kate Center. And I'm just wondering, kind of technology changes and ages, and we're about 10 years in right now here?
Coming up on 12.
12, okay. So what do you see, like, in the future? Are we going to have some gradual replacements, or do you see any, like, big things coming down the road? Because that made me think of it with the CDL, because, you know, trucks, now we have electric trucks. And so what do you kind of see coming as far as the need to start replacing things?
Well, what we have currently is in tune with the Department of Employment and Workforce, I'm sorry. But we continually look at different things that are coming from the State Department of Education, because right now they have a program for the electric vehicle engineering part and the maintenance part, but they haven't finished all the standards and curriculum for it yet. It's still in a pilot phase, but we're staying in tune with what's coming.
David is very good with using the state and federal funds that come, and he does. He's got a rotation that goes on about that.
Do we have it?
So just to follow up on that, so there's funds that come from the federal and state specific to Kate that don't flow through our regular operating and capital expenditures?
Yes, ma'am. We will use those funds before we even request anything. Now, we can't build buildings with it, but we can keep our equipment up to date. For an example, a year and a half ago, we purchased a new computer numeric controlled machine, a CNC machine for machining that is the same one that they use at Midlands Tech. So we try and stay up with them.
Any more questions? All right, thank you.
All right, thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Just have to make sure David stays around.
Yeah.
The next slide is about early release and late start days. This is the draft of what we are proposing for our early release and late start days for next year. And I'll just leave that up there and talk to you just a little bit about the why behind this, because at our Parent Advisory Council, we had some questions, and I just want to make sure that I clear those up. A lot of questions about, so why does a middle school get 6? Why does the high school get more? Why does so there's a lot of questions around that. It really, the intent of this originated way back with Schools to Work, with high schools having a late start day. And that was for our high schools that they have large departments that don't necessarily have common planning times, but that was times that they could work together, plan together, and do things that were needed as a department. And that hour on Wednesday mornings. Now, you'll see that it's not every Wednesday morning, because it depends on if there's some testing going on or something with the schedule that won't allow it, but it's more Wednesdays than not. And so we list the ones that you will not have late start. Then it went to elementary, because elementary schools, those of you who are really familiar with elementary schools, there's very little planning there. Our teachers start with students, and they stay with students pretty much all day. That's just the nature of our job. And they get 45 minutes of planning, Recently, you know, the unencumbered time says that they get 30 minutes by themselves, like no mandates on them, 30 minutes that they can just take a breath. And so our schools have been very creative in ways around being able to give them that 30 minutes. Some of them do it during their planning time, and then they have an additional 15 to 20 minutes to meet with teams. Some do it during lunch, recess time when they have other staff that can cover that. So it just depends on what works best for that school and the staffing that they have. Because you have to remember that our Title I schools do have a few extra staff because of Title I funding, and they are able to do some things that maybe our regular schools cannot do. And then that time is a half day for 6 days out of the year. It was originally designated for planning only, uninterrupted planning. This year, prior to this year, so I guess last January, February-ish, Mr. Giuliano was meeting with a committee to talk about letters, because this is our first full year of true letters implementation. We had one school that was in letters that we had, as a district, made some accommodations for them, for teachers to have time to be able to do this during their regular day. But then this year, we're looking at an entire district doing this. So we have 13 elementary schools in letters. And so the teachers chose, I would much rather use some of the early release time to do my letters training than to have to do it outside of my regular work time. And so some of those early release days are being used for letters training. Not all of them, but some of them. And next year, we're able to cut one away. So we're really happy about that. But the purpose behind that is because this year we have a big math textbook adoption, and we're giving that March day for Lead D5 for teachers to be able to do their math textbooks adoption, which is pretty big for them and time consuming. Next year, we don't anticipate having that. I say that, but things can change, but we don't anticipate having that. So therefore, we would be able to use all 3 days for letters training. So that'll give them some of their time back. So then, of course, you have intermediate and middle school. Well, intermediate middle school teachers then begin questioning. So high schools get it, elementary schools get it. Why don't I get it? And so we started looking at that, and middle school teachers, intermediate middle school teachers do get 90 minutes of planning, just like our high school teachers get 90 minutes of planning. But we also acknowledge that there are times, again, when the schedule may not allow for the whole team to be together to do the planning that they need to meet the needs of students. And so that's where we came up with 6 late starts for middle school. So that's similar to high school, getting parents, getting students somewhat ready for that late start mentality, and proposed the 6 late starts for intermediate and high schools. And those can be used for planning or professional development because of the difference in planning time. So I'll stand for any questions that you might have.
Do we have any questions for Ms. McCaskill? Ms. Huddle?
So my kids are grown, so this is not personal, but the question I always get from parents is that why can't we do early dismissal on Fridays instead of Thursdays?
Originally, when we started this, we did do some Fridays. I was not actually in this role. I was at a school role as an assistant principal. We didn't have students. So when the Friday came around and it was supposed to be early release, we didn't have students. And so we'd already made all accommodations for, we didn't do related arts, we didn't do recess, we didn't do anything but instruction during that time, so that we made sure that we got our instructional hours in. And we didn't have students to do instruction with, because it's an easy way to take an early release and take off for the weekend. So that's the truth.
The honest answer. So I'm assuming you may have a little of that now, but it's not near as bad as, gotcha.
It's not, except for on the day that it's usually we do try to plan one of our early releases around the fair. So we try to make sure of that. There's usually a good many early releases on that day. But other than that, we don't have a whole lot of it.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, Ms. McCaskill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCaskill, and thank you, Mr. Prigge. Mr. Prigge has done an amazing job of not only making sure that we grow our programs, but we make sure our programs are compliant and securing our partnerships so that we can get access to the best for our students. And as you heard him say many times, that we're aligning this with the needs of our state. These are positions that you can come out and make a lot of money and help the state in its economic development. So thank you so much for that. And last that I have is our annual report is published. Please, we have one at your seat. This is the unofficial copy for you to review. Great information that's within about our district and our athletics, our arts, awards, and recognitions that we receive, financial report. There's just so much that our amazing district is doing. Last year's theme was the growing season, and so we encourage you to see this. This will be published in our local Irmo, Lake Murray, and Chapin News this Thursday. So excited for that. It'll also be available soon thereafter in our schools and any partners that would carry this. So again, we're certainly excited. I want to thank the communications department for collaborating and putting all this together. I really love the pictures. And then also all of the teams, the executive staff, all of our divisions for contributing to our annual report. And so that, Madam Chair, that's our D5 story, and I stand for any questions.
Do we have any questions for Dr. Ross? All right, thank you.